I'm Big Rick Stewart, host of the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack. Every weekend, I do a show featuring fun music and great information. You can hear the show on KVYN 99.3 FM in Napa. You can also stream the show every Saturday and Sunday from 993thevine.com. I like to put together the stories that I share on the weekends for a weekly podcast. So let's check out this version of the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack podcast right now. It's the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack. You're probably not thinking about the NFL, right? I mean, basketball just wrapped up and baseball's in full swing. Haha, see what I did there? But football practice is going on. The coaches are all working hard. And from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, their sports writer interviewed the Las Vegas Raiders tight end coach, see where this is going, about Napa's Brock Bowers as he's entering his second season. So what did he have to say? All right, the tight end coach is this guy named Luke Steckel, and he helped 2024 first-round pick Napa's Brock Bowers break the NFL record for most receptions by a rookie with 112. So he's got to top that, I guess. I don't know. He got season number 2 under his belt. So they asked him, they said, what's going to be next for Brock Bowers? This is what the coach said. I think the game is going to continue to slow down. You know, they say that for professional athletes, like it's just slower. It's easier to hit those 100-mile-an-hour fastballs and things like that because you're just kind of used to the speed of things. And the speed difference between college football and pro football, they say it's pretty significant. There's going to be huge expectations, but he's a guy that's just wired a certain way. The expectations from himself are going to be higher than any other expectations people could put on him. Talking about Brock Bowers from Napa. I think his approach as a pro every single day, his consistent work ethic, his focus, his attention to detail, it's only going to get better and better. It's hard to point to one part of his game that needs to improve. I think as the game slows down more and more, you're going to see every area continue to improve, and he's going to produce at a higher level. He also said, I don't think there's been a moment to make me question this pick when they were first watching him to decide on drafting Brock Bowers for the Raiders. All right, man, looking forward to it. Sounds like Brock had a pretty good upbringing. You know, that's where you get that work ethic and more. I'm Big Rick Stewart. It's the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack at 99.3 The Vine. It's the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack. You having some coffee? Well, that might be a good thing. A massive new study says this is what happens to people who drink a black coffee every day. It's from INC, but I've also seen this study released in other places. Writing in the Journal of Nutrition, researchers from Tufts University said they looked at the coffee drinking habits of 46,332 Americans. Wow. Between 1999 and 2018, when they were part of the U.S. government's National Health and Nutritional Examination Survey. They came away with 3 big findings. First, drinking 1 cup of coffee per day was linked to a 16% lower risk of death for any of the participants over the study period from any cause. Next, drinking more coffee was linked to an even slightly better result. For example, study participants who drank 2 to 3 cups per day had a 17% lower risk. And finally, this only applies to black coffee. If you add in sugar and cream and who knows what else people put in coffee these days, all those benefits basically go away. So all that Starbucks, that giant menu order that people make, maybe not the healthiest thing, but a good old black cup of coffee, maybe not too bad. Oh, there's also been a recent study released that says that women who drank coffee daily over the decades, they traced this from 84 to 2016, they found that the ones who drank coffee were much more likely to be mentally sharp, strong, and healthy as they aged past 70. All right. Stay up all night and drink coffee, I guess. I don't know. I'm Big Rick Stewart. Leave out the cream and sugar. It's the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack at 99.3 The Vine. It's the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack. This is from ZDNet. See if you've ever thought of this. Would you like to have a dumb phone? You know, something where people could still contact you, like a phone or a text, but something that didn't interrupt your life with emails and, constant social media bombardment and all that. There's a phone waiting for you. It does cost $700. It doesn't do very much, but that's kind of the point. And from ZDNet, one of their editors took the Light Phone 3 out for a few weeks to give it a try. And, well, here's what they're thinking about it. It's got a new standard for simplified phones. They're calling this a Dumbphone, but it might be a smart idea. Sleek, minimal product. And they say they wish the battery lasted just maybe a little bit longer. It's just a 4x3-inch rectangle. That's the size. It fits in your hand and your pockets real easily. The menus are just text. There's no icons. So it's like point and click menus. You can text. You can make and get phone calls, of course. There's a couple of emojis. There's notes, a calendar, a timer, an alarm. There's no email, and they say it will never have email. One of the developers of this Dumbphone said that, they were on a holiday once and they're hanging out, having a good time with their family, and they got this blast email from work, and it just ruined the whole vacation, the whole vibe, the whole everything. And they weren't supposed to be getting emails, right? Because they were on vacation. Has that ever happened to you? All right, so they say it's actually a pretty good phone for what it does. It actually has pretty good hardware, and the sound and all that stuff is pretty good. It's not going to do a lot of things. You're not going to be snapping photos, but that's kind of the whole point of the Light Phone 3. I don't know, what do you think? Is a Dumbphone for you? Maybe not as my only phone, but I think that would be kind of a cool thing to have sometimes for sure. I'm the hopefully not distracted Big Rick Stewart on the Wine Country Weekend soundtrack at 99.3 The Vine. Hey, I'm Big Rick Stewart. It's the Wine Country Weekend soundtrack. Saw this over at Forbes, and I, thought I'd share because you might have one of your favorites on this list, or I don't know, maybe you own one of these, or you work there. I have no idea. But here's a good tip for 5 of the very best sparkling wine houses in Northern California. Saw this online at Forbes. If you go to Sonoma from Napa, or if you go from Napa to Sonoma, either way, you probably pass that big, giant, beautiful Domaine Carneros. It opened up about 1987, and it's just a beautiful, amazing place. If you want to do a tasting there, it does require a reservation, and give yourself 2 to 3 hours for the best experience, and the sunset views are amazing. That's definitely on the list. Next on the list, Stromsburg Vineyards in 1972. A bottle of their Blanc de Blanc became the first American sparkling wine served at a White House state dinner. Since then, every president has poured their sparkling wine at one point or another. They're up in Calistoga, and one of the really cool things you can do there is go on a cave tour. Iron Horse Vineyards is in Sonoma County, way out on the west end out there. Iron Horse Vineyards is kind of laid back. It's got that Sonoma feel, and you can even bring a picnic lunch because food is permitted outside. Reservations are required for both the casual tasting and the picnic table. More sparkling wines on the list. How about Roederer in Mendocino's Anderson Valley? They got a new hospitality center up there. They've got world-class pours and some great behind-the-scenes touring if you want to check out their winemaking facility. And you can also get some small bites from their estate's kitchen. And one of my favorites, and maybe yours as well, Gloria Ferrer is a special place that doesn't need a reservation. You can just pop by and grab a glass. However, reservations for their culinary experience, including their brunch, are required. If you want some more information, check the article at Forbes. And happy bubbles to all from the Wine Country Weekend soundtrack at 99.3 The Vine. Hey, it's a Wine Country Weekend soundtrack, and I'm Big Rick Stewart. These are back in style. What? I can't believe it. Jelly shoes are making a comeback. Wow. And they say they're super comfortable and all that stuff. I don't know, I never wore jelly shoes, right? I'm not the kind of guy that really walked around in jelly shoes back in the 90s. Olivia Young, writing at Travel and Leisure, says, as a kid in the 90s, I lived in jelly shoes. Plastic flats and sandals and eye-popping glitter-flecked colors ruled my childhood. Now in the year 2025, my inner 8-year-old is happy to witness this fun flavor summer footwear making a comeback. All right, these are like plastic shoes. PVC sandals are shaping up to make a major revival this summer. They're already on the shelves at Target, Old Navy, and The Gap. They don't cost very much, and they're kind of semi-disposable, really, in a way, right? When you think of jelly shoes, she says you think of Melissa's Hero Possession sandals. The Brazilian brand calls it the original fisherman-inspired jelly shoes that transformed the 90s generation into jelly lovers. Evidently, these are all modeled after shoes that were worn by fishermen over in France, and that's kind of why they got their whole vibe. All right, so what are people saying about these new jelly shoes for 2025? They say they're extremely comfortable. Are you shocked? Just like the OG jellies, they say I used to have, with one incredible exception, they're actually comfortable and that they've been wearing them nonstop in a heat wave with no chafing, no blisters, and no sweaty, slippery feet. They could wear them all day. It sounds like an ad for jelly shoes, but it's not. It's just me trying to let you know what's going on. I don't know. Are you in on all this? They probably don't have my size. I'm Big Rick Stewart. It's the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack at 99.3 The Vine. And those are the stories from the Wine Country Weekend Soundtrack. Check out the weekly podcast and check out the show. It's every Saturday and Sunday, all day at 99.3 FM in Napa or streaming online from 993thevine.com.